If you've been thinking about wanting to start a podcast but not sure where to get started, I have some news for you. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can make money from your podcast as well with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Hi gang, Donna here. Today I have the pleasure of sitting down with Ricky Duran. Some of you guys may recognize him from The Voice. He was the runner-up on season 17. While we discuss his time on The Voice and he gives some tips if you're actually thinking about auditioning, we also talk about some of the tragedies in his life and the inspiration behind the music. Hi, Ricky. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Some of you guys, if you've watched The Voice, you may recognize Ricky. He was the runner-up for season, 17?
Yep, that's right.
That's right. So why don't you take us a little bit on that journey of The Voice, and then we're going to backtrack because I know that you have had a love of music for a very long time. So let's talk about The Voice first, and then we'll go back. So,
Sure.
What made you decide to go on The Voice?
So really, it was an opportunity that presented itself so I'm from Worcester, Massachusetts. I had just moved to Austin, Texas, and I was playing a show, and the guy who hired me for the show, after I was done, came up to me and said that he had a friend who was a producer on the show, on The Voice. And I followed up with a contact. They got me a private audition. And then it just went from there. So it kind of just fell on my lap. I wasn't really seeking the opportunity, but I'm glad I did, take him up on that.
Now, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So it was that first private audition. And right after that, I had a good feeling from the get-go. They flew me out to LA. And there's a series of, auditions before you get to get in front of the coaches for the blind auditions. And that was a huge process. It takes months before you even get to that opportunity. But
did you audition for season 6 as well?
I did. Yeah, that's the only other time that I auditioned for any reality show like that. And I got to the coaches at the time. It was Shakira, Usher, Adam Levine, and Blake. And I auditioned the last day. No one turned, but they gave me encouragement. They said, we only have a couple spots left. We're looking for something in particular. Come back. And I got to say, it was pretty devastating to not get a turn. So I went home and I never auditioned until season 17 again.
But in that time, you built up your vocal career, did you not?
Yeah, I was playing out, 4 nights a week here in Worcester. And, I guess that definitely helped in developing my voice.
Being on The Voice, was there a lot of high and low moments? I mean, I did not watch The Voice, but I did watch you at that I watched your performances and I watched when they made the announcement. How hard was that moment when you were standing there and they were about to announce the winner? How hard was that?
So to be honest with you, that was the easiest part of the show because everything was done. And I was like, all right, it is what it is. I had a talk with the other finalists that day were Jake Hoot, who ended up being the winner here, myself, Rose Short, and Katie Caden. And on the way to the finale, I was like, hey, how do you guys feel? Like, do you really want to win this, or would you prefer to, another spot? Because there's a lot that goes into winning the show. There's a contract you're tied to. I had my talk with Blake Shelton, and he honestly told me that he thought it would be best if I didn't win the show because in his words, he said that he's seen the show kind of not really promote a lot of careers for artists. They have you on a contract, but they don't necessarily need to use or help you out. You're just kind of signed. And in a lot of instances, you can't really create the music you want to because you're consolidated to that particular contract. But Yeah, it was interesting. When they called Jay Coote's name for the winner, it was a mix. I had mixed feelings because, part of me, even though Blake told me that, part of me did want to just say that I won the show. But another part of me was like content about getting the runner up and having the freedom to create the music that I want to.
Well, you still have that attached to your name, which is good. But, I'm in the publishing world, and, there was all this talk about, well, yeah, every author and every indie author wants a publishing contract. But the fact of the matter is, then you have to write certain things and you have to be in certain parameters and certain word counts. And it's like, part of me wants to just stay in indie.
Right. Yeah. Very similar.
Because you have the freedom. What was an average day for you like on The Voice?
It's a lot of hurry up and wait. And I had a lot of days off. And then when you were on, though, you were up at 5 a.m. getting ready. They, drive you off to the studio in Hollywood. And for instance, like any performance days where 5 a.m., wake up, you go there, you rehearse on the actual stage, and then, hair, makeup, and it just go until the performance. So it's pretty exhausting. And that's one thing that's tough for, especially being like a show for vocalists, because you get on stage and you're exhausted and your voice shows that sometimes. Yeah. So you really have to be conscious about taking care of your voice and sleeping wherever you can. I was, would fall asleep on the couch after rehearsal, just in the corner somewhere, just to get some hours in.
Yeah. What made you decide you wanted Blake?
A few things. So originally I had told, throughout my interviews that I would go for John Legend, because I think that, yeah, everyone that I talk to seems to think that I would have picked John Legend. And that was my gut feeling. We have very similar styles and just the soul and R&B in our voices, but I know that Blake is a veteran on The Voice. I heard that he was good to the contestants. And also I got to audition the last day. So I knew that John Legend's team was pretty packed with amazing singers. And I thought I'd stand out on Blake's team, being like his token soul rock guy. So that's really why I went with Blake. So
since you've left The Voice, you're recording again, you're working on a new album, and you have a single out, Stars. Is that what you were shooting the video for yesterday?
Believe it or not, no. I'm shooting a video for Star next week.
Okay.
This other music video is for a project that's unreleased. It's coming out. This is the first time I'm actually announcing that. So September 17th is the expected release date for this new project. And it has to do with suicide prevention. So I've teamed up with the AFSP, the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention. And I wrote this song about my dad. So my dad passed away in 2012. He died by suicide, and it was a huge shock to me. And there was, oftentimes with stuff like that, there's not a lot of closure, and it's tough to find that peace. So I wrote this song as if my dad was speaking to me. So it's almost like the letter that I wish I had received, Mm-hmm. And as personal as the song is, I wanted to not really make it just about my story, because I know suicide affects, a lot of people out there. So I thought it would be great to team up with the foundation, the FSP, and really make it about the cause of talking about mental health and suicide prevention.
I'm sorry for your loss. I know it's been a while, but still, I'm sorry, because as you said, it's something that it happens usually very sudden. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the times, I'm assuming in your case, it was unexpected. For me personally, my mom had threatened it several times during my lifetime. So it was a journey. It was really a journey, but it's still hard because there's no answers.
Right.
Did you guys figure out why he did it, or I mean, if you don't want to talk about it, I understand.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Y- I don't think that anyone really
You just assume.
can put yourself in those shoes to be that, you know, desperate. Um, I know reasons. We were living in Grafton at the time, and the economy was at a low. And my dad had uh, been diagnosed with prostate cancer, and he had surgery, and he had complications with the surgery. Couldn't go back to work for a couple of years. And when he tried to, said, "I'm good, I'd like to go back," they no longer had a position for him. So he was struggling with that and payments on the house. And in a way, he selflessly committed suicide so that we could really pay off the house. It was a fiscal reason, and unfortunately, the pressures that put on him, and he didn't want us to know about those pressures, so he kind of kept that to himself. Which obviously I wish he didn't. I wish I could have had a talk with him, or but he was a very proud individual. He came here from Guatemala, and he wanted to be a provider for his family.
And I think that's an unfortunate thing that happens with a lot of people. Ultimately, the last thing that when my mom did it, I mean, it was related to money. And so many people, they get bogged down with money, and you can try to, and I'll say this to you, I tried to give my mom a way out, saying, you can come live with us, don't worry about it, leave him, you can live with us. And she didn't want to do that, because once again, it's pride. It's about money. And it's really unfortunate. And if anybody is having any issues, please reach out for help. I mean, I'm sure you'd say the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Financially, just because things look dark one day doesn't mean that the next day is not going to turn around. You don't know. And that's, always try to keep hope. Always try to have hope. It's important. Right. Because I'm sure, let's go back to when you were a kid, and, let's talk about something positive about your father. Your father is the man who instilled your love of music in you. Did he not?
Right. Yeah, for sure. He was always playing music. And actually, when he moved here from Guatemala, that was his main source of income. He was playing out in Quincy, Mass, Boston area. And there was always a piano. There was always a guitar around. And he was, the person who inspired me to pick up the guitar and to sing.
And he actually you were in a band with him for a while, weren't you?
Yeah. He was, when I picked up the guitar, he started playing bass and backup vocals, and we played some shows together, and it was a good time.
So he also managed your band when you were in high school, is that correct?
Yeah, pretty much. He was the manager from, through high school and college, actually.
So what made you decide you got a scholarship for Berklee, correct?
Yes.
So what made you, some people just go into music, they don't go to the college route. What made you decide I'm doing it this way?
So I didn't really know what I wanted to do after high school. Well, hear this. I wanted to play music, but I didn't know what was the right way to go about it. And my mom and dad really wanted me to get a higher education. They really wanted me to go to college. So in my mind, I was like, that's the only place I'll go if I'm doing music, all the time, full time. And it's the only school I ended up applying to. So luckily I got in, and it was more of a, honestly, it was more to please my parents, to show them that it's tough to just graduate and then, leave and go on tour and try to perform. I felt like I owed it to them to try it this way and get a higher education.
Do you think going there has now benefited you, because you can look at the industry in a different light, can't you?
Definitely. So I graduated with a music business degree, and it definitely helped me out both on the business side, but also on the performance side, because the performers at Berklee, the artists are incredible. They have some of the world's best musicians there. And it really made me, when you're in that level of that capacity of musicians, it really pushes you to be like, okay, I really need to, get things going. These guys are killers. So it pushed me to be better.
For you having that education, when Blake comes to you and said, or when you're talking to Blake and he's like, well, the contract, you definitely would have a better understanding because of your background.
For sure. It definitely helped me out, guiding me, and allowing me, I guess, to have the foresight of these contracts that sometimes are not in the artist's best interest. But it's still tough because until you get to that point, I was playing bars and I didn't see any contracts. But it's tough when someone offers you a contract not to jump and say, yes, I want to sign, I want a record deal, but yeah, from my experience, you really have to read between the lines. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there was a book contract or a contest, and just the contract for the contest, they had this line in there was something along the lines of, if we happen to write another book, or we happen to buy another book and publish it, and it's similar to yours, you can't do anything. I was like, I'll keep my book, thank you.
Right. Yeah.
and there was a gentleman that I interviewed, another artist, and he had a collaboration with somebody that I won't say on air, and there was no contract involved. And then all of a sudden it went out, and then it got pulled back, and the guy's fans were like lashing out at the artist that I had interviewed. And it was kind of like,
Wow.
I said, did you get a contract? He's like, no, there was no contract. I'm like, that's where the problem lies.
Yeah.
So you also lost, let's go back to, we'll go to a little bit of darker thing. So Tattoo Tears, you wrote after your best friend committed suicide.
Yeah. So, honestly, I got to say that was, I don't know I mean, it was almost tougher than losing my dad, because my best friend, he knew about all the struggles that I had after my dad had passed. And we had, we were close, and it troubled me that I couldn't see, that I didn't know that was a possibility. It surprised me again. I knew he was having a hard time, but I didn't think it was to that extent. And yeah, I wrote Tattoo Tears just as a dedication to my best friend, my brother. And yeah, losing him was tough. I actually recorded this last music video with his guitar, using his electric guitar he used to play also. So I thought that was would be a good tribute to him.
It was. That's the one thing about suicide. And for people that are watching that may know somebody that seems like they're having a little bit of a problem, when my mom passed, all of her close friends were like, she was talking about your wedding. She was so excited about your wedding. Not one person knew what they were suffering. And I think if we step back, which I know none of us really take the time to anymore, we don't have the time to step back and look at the people around us, we might see that crack under that facade. So I think that's important. You have suffered a lot of tragic, and I mean, I know that somebody once said to me, how do you survive your life? Well, you survive it because you're creative. And I hate to say it, but you're creative. So I know the loss of your mom was a very hard thing because you were close to her, and that inspired you to write another song. So you're taking your tragedies and you're turning it into something that is powerful to help others and to release your emotion, are you not?
Yeah, definitely drives, I guess, my creativity. Really, my songwriting is just about expressing myself. So whatever I'm going through at the time, I guess that's why I've written these almost tribute songs for my mom, for my best friend, for my dad. And it's also tough, though, because I want to play songs that are fun for people too. But I felt like I had so much to say about these losses that I needed to get out there. So I kind of go back and forth about, like, I really hope that I'm doing something good for people, when I'm talking about my stories and the need for mental health awareness. I hope that, someone, or it helps some people along the way.
That's the thing. If you help one person, that's all you have to do is help one person. If that song, the song she closed her eyes. If that song resonates about one person that has gone through something similar to you, then you've done your job. You've helped somebody in it. And you may never know it, but that the fact that you recorded it and you put it out there for it to connect with somebody. And you don't know that that person doesn't put on that song and bawls their eyes out to that memory. But then there might be somebody that comes up to you after a show and says, man, that song you wrote, it just got me. I felt it. And that has to be rewarding for you to know that.
Yeah, I've had a lot of fortunately I've seen that. I've had a lot of fans tell me their story and how that song "She Closed Her Eyes" has helped them through, losing their loved one. I actually played a private show up here in it was over by Boston, the Boston area, and it was a family that hired me, and the mother of in the family was sick, and she had cancer, and that song resonated with their family so much so that they invited me to their house to perform and to meet them. And it was beautiful to see how moved they were by that song.
Well, and that's the one thing you have to remember, that music sometimes is a soundtrack of our lives. Last year, my husband passed, and there was a song. I got in the car. I had taken him off of life support, and I got in the car, and there's a song by Duran called "Face for Today," and one of the lyrics it's along the lines of about dancing with death and going down the spiral for it. And I had just pulled the plug, and I mean, it could not have been more prophetic at that moment to hear that, because of what I just did. And that's what I'm getting at. It's like, you don't know when that song, one of your songs comes on, and it's just that soundtrack. Because for now, every time I hear that song, I think back to that moment.
Mm-hmm.
So as an artist, just think of how many people you touch and how powerful it is.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And I'm sorry for your loss, by the way.
He was sick for a long time, but it's one of those things where it's still getting used to it. And
I was there.
I know with your mom having cancer, that was an issue. And, your girlfriend, I had read that she had a health scare too. So I know that's something that weighs heavily on you at times, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah. It's something that, it's crazy. For the instance of my mother, it's tough because there's really nothing I could do. You're powerless to cancer, really. And there came a point where, me and my sisters were like almost hoping she'd move on, and she'd pass, because it was just such a long and tough journey. And we just wanted her to be at peace,
Yeah. And that's the thing about long-term illness. You watch your family member suffer, and you don't know how to help.
It is tough.
I have to say, I was reading through, I guess it was People, your article from 624, and there was some other article I was reading that actually said when you follow your intuition for long enough, everything falls into place. And you had said this about meeting your girlfriend, but in general, I just want to generalize this. So how often do you listen to your intuition?
I try to listen to it every day, but it is tough because there's other instances where you really can't, or it's hard to do that. But I think it's really important. And any time that I follow my instinct and my intuition, I find that it's always the best. It was always the best decision for me. I think good things happen when you follow your intuition. I still think that.
I agree. I think when we start second guessing ourselves, that's where the problems lie.
For sure. And especially with music. And I can relate it to even a performance. If you're up on stage and you got a guitar solo and you second guess a note, it's a hesitation, and it'll resonate through the music. So you just got to go with the flow and kind of lose yourself in the moment. That's what I think most musicians strive for. They don't want to be up there on stage thinking about the next note. It's just about the feeling and living in the moment.
One of the first performances I ever did as a bass player, I played the wrong note. It was still in the same arpeggio, but I played the wrong note, and nobody else knew it, but man, did I know it.
Oh yeah.
And you start taking apart your whole performance in your head because you missed the one note. And it's like nobody else knew it.
Yep.
Do you
It's
ever
tough.
have those moments?
Oh, of course. But you know, you just got to play it off. If you mess up on stage, the last thing you want to do is let the audience know, because most
Okay.
of the time they won't.
No.
You know what
Yeah.
So you just got to go with it.
Go with the flow. A little bit about your girlfriend. So when you first saw her, you locked eyes with her and you just knew this person. You were up on stage and she saw you. I mean, I'm sure you see people all the time. How did you just knew?
I'm not kidding when I say when she was sitting there. So it was at a bar actually right up the street from where I'm at that I was playing at. And she came in and I was in awe of her. I was just like, this is the most beautiful girl I've ever seen, you know? But I was just singing and not really trying not to make it obvious that I was looking at her. And I saw she was looking at me and I was like, wait, is this really happening? And she came up to talk to me after one of the songs I played. And I don't know. I just knew that I had to pursue that. So when I was finished with my show, I asked her for some, to come out for some drinks, and we just hit it off from day one.
She had a stroke before or during your time on The Voice?
Yeah, it was really wild because she had flown out to see my blind audition.
Mm-hmm.
And she had landed in LA, and I talked to her that morning that I was supposed to audition. And she just seemed something was different about her. I didn't know what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked my sister who she was with, and she's like, yeah, she's acting a little funny, but I don't really know what's going on. And she was unaware that she had a stroke. So she had a blood clot. And I guess, traveling and on a plane, I guess can kind of, it doesn't help the situation. I don't really know all the ins and outs.
Yeah.
But so she got rushed to the ER, and they had told me she had a stroke. She was in surgery. So that was just, came out of left field. It was such a shock. I was supposed to audition for this show. Next thing I know, I'm going to the hospital, and I had to tell the producers, like, I can't audition today. I got to go see my girl, and she came out of surgery and basically looked at me and was like, you need to go audition, like, go back. I'm fine. Like, go audition. So I got there, and they let me go on stage the last day again. But luckily, I had a good performance. So
that just adds more
fuel. It was a roller coaster.
Yeah.
It was a roller coaster. And, it made it that much more meaningful when I got on a team.
I'm sure. What are your big plans now? Are you are working on another route? You're working on an album, correct?
Yeah, I'm constantly working on new music. But in the near future, I have this song that I recorded a music video yesterday for, coming out in September. And I have an album in the works. I'm also talking to some record labels that are considering signing me. It's such a difficult thing. I've talked to so many labels that are interested, but I don't want to be waiting on a deal. I'm just going to be creating music. So I think I'm going to release this album in the next coming months. Mm-hmm. And I'm working with a booking agency right now to book a tour. And I'm hoping that this whole COVID thing, I know, I'm hoping that, touring will be a possibility very soon.
I heard it because I know you're going back home to Austin, that Austin is at like level 5.
Yeah, it's not good over there right now.
Are you scared about traveling back home then, or are you just, it is what it is?
I'm not nervous for myself. I'm just, I just really want everything to go back to the way it was. I know that it's easier said than done. And, COVID's a real thing. It's a threat. And I know people that have lost their lives to it. It's a tough topic.
Well, and we don't have to go there. I was just curious, because you are traveling, and I know, there's a musician that was talking about, he's been a musician for 40 plus years, and he's like, this is the first time in my life that I'm stuck and I can't go anywhere. So, I mean, that has to be, I'm sure you've done a lot of traveling around for your music. So that has to be really hard to be suddenly locked down where you can't go anywhere.
It was really tough. It still is, but COVID happened. The lockdown happened a few months after I was done with The Voice, and I was planning on going on this big tour. And all of a sudden, from like performing on the big stage to performing in your living room, on live streams, it was a huge change for me, and I'm still dying to get back on the big stage. I have a performance here in Worcester at the Hanover Theater. That was supposed to be my homecoming show. It's a 2,300 seater. It was sold out a year and a half ago. Wow. And I still haven't been able to play it. So hopefully, the date now is September 18th of this year. And I'm hoping that it sticks, but who knows? Who knows?
Yeah. How many people were in the audience at the Voice?
I want to say it was like 400 or 500.
Is that the biggest show you played?
No, I've opened for some artists and played at like the House of Blues for probably 1,000 or so.
So what's it like for you? We're not talking The Voice. For you as a performer, what does your day consist of if you have a concert to do?
I enjoy sleeping in. I really like to be rested and kind of keep to myself before a show, because in my opinion, I like to protect my energy and really go through how I want the show to go and kind of have a direction. So, I'll just relax, drink some tea, try to stay healthy and focused.
What happens? I mean, I know what it's like, but what happens when all right, so you're up on stage, you are vibing off the crowd, and we're talking a bigger show. We're not talking, we'll say The Voice. So you have this whole energy of all this, the crowd and everything behind you. How do you walk away from that? I mean, The Voice, you're just doing a song, but when you're doing your whole set, afterwards, how amped are you? I mean, you can't just shut it off like that. So that's why we sleep in, but
I mean, that's what I live for. I love that energy that there's nothing better. There's no better feeling in my mind than performing on stage and feeling the energy from the crowd and from your fans. It's electrifying. And I don't know. I kind of try to keep that in mind. So I try to like almost bottle that energy up and remember why I'm doing this. And that's really the reason, the connection with the fans and that moment on stage,
Yeah, I mean, there's a powerful energy to it, and I think a lot of people don't realize it. And during lockdown, even if you do it here, it's still not the same. You're still not getting that full feedback. So, Star, your girlfriend was the reason you wrote that?
Yes. Yeah, 100%.
Tell us about it.
So it's kind of funny. So I had written all these songs. She always, I play her every song I write and tell her my inspiration. And one day she was like, "How come you haven't written me a song?" And I was like, "Oh, you're right." So I had this idea, this guitar riff, and I just kind of had that in mind. I was like, I'm going to write my girlfriend a song, of what she means to me. And started writing it, and it came out really quick. And that's the best case as a writer, when something comes and it clicks and you don't have to sit and think about, the changes and the lyrics all that much. So I knew I had something good. I love that song. And it's really about, some being enamored with somebody and basically putting them first and going against any feeling of reservation or like anything holding you back. You're just all in. It's about just giving love a chance and seeing where it goes.
And what did she think?
She loves that song. She loves it. Yeah. I actually had my barber down in Austin. He just got married, and he used that song for their first dance.
Nice.
Video. That was nice.
Nice.
But yeah, that's her dedicated song. She loves it.
Will the girlfriend be in the video?
Yes. So I'm shooting that next week, and she doesn't like to be on camera, but I told her, it has to be you. I'm not going to get a model I want it to be her. So we're going to make it happen.
Good, good.
Yeah.
If it's dedicated to her, it's important that she's part of it. It's a natural progression of things.
Mm-hmm.
When do you think your album will be out?
So it was anticipated late September, but at this point, probably November.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are you going to go the Apple and Amazon route?
Yes, I'm going to release it on all platforms: Apple, Spotify, Amazon.
When you look back at, because you were in a high school band, is the music you're playing now much different than when you were in a band in high school?
Oh yeah. So my influences back then, I had a lot of punk rock influence. I was playing a lot of Green Day,
Okay.
Blink-182, and then I discovered Jimi Hendrix and blues, and that was basically my focus throughout high school and college. So I released a couple of albums in college, and I love the guitar work that I did. But as far as songwriting, it seemed like I was really focused on the technicalities of the music as opposed to writing a powerful song. And that's what I'm about now. I think it's, the songs that speak to me are the timeless songs, songs by the Beatles, Ray Charles, stuff like this. So it's definitely progressed. And I love to keep that guitar work, but it's more about the entire song as a whole.
So you've evolved as an artist.
For sure, yeah.
You play guitar, you play piano, correct? Yes, because I saw that on your performance. What other instruments do you play?
I play a little bit of drums, and I definitely can play a bass line. I would say that I'm proficient, but I'm not it's not like the guitar, I can't just pick up the drums or the bass or even the piano and improvise like I can on the guitar. But I can definitely do it for like studio recordings. I've recorded piano. I would love to be a better drummer, to be honest with you, but it's a lot of fun. I didn't practice enough growing up.
It happens. So are you bringing in other people to work on the album, or are you doing it all by yourself?
Yeah, no. I have a full band, 5-piece. So I have a keyboard player, a bass player, drummer, and a second guitar player.
Okay. So
yeah.
How many tracks are going to be on it?
So that's kind of up in the air, but I believe we're at nine tracks. There's one feature track with a country artist that we co-wrote the song together. I won't say who it is right now, but I'm really excited for this song to be released.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So where do you see yourself in about 5 years? If COVID doesn't exist, if COVID is no longer an issue.
I really want a Grammy. I still want more, I want to be on tour. I want to be a household name. That's the reality of it. I still want more.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So I have to ask you something, and you don't have to answer. And I know you're in a serious relationship, but with the road, there are trappings of the road.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. Just being a musician and traveling and touring, it's a whole nother stress for a relationship, and it can be taxing for sure to not have that person right there every day. And even with COVID, I've been traveling a lot. Like I'm here right now in Massachusetts, and I've been here for 4 or 5 days, and it's just tough, not seeing your girlfriend, not being around all the time. But if you have a strong enough relationship and you communicate, it shouldn't be a problem. But it definitely is, just another factor that could go wrong.
Well, and communication is key. I mean, no matter if you're in the music business, if you have a long distance relationship, communication is key.
For sure.
You want a Grammy.
Yeah.
And you want an American Music Award, I'm sure, and everything else. And you see the trappings. So what do you think is going to push you to get to that level?
So from my experience, I just got to stay grinding, keep writing, keep releasing music, and hopefully I can sign a some sort of record deal, because it definitely helps to have a company pushing you and just getting you out there. So I'm working, talking with Sony, talking with Warner, and I'm hoping that they will get behind me and support some of my projects.
That's awesome. And I hope that you do find the support you need, because it's hard doing it by yourself. It is. I mean,
For
because
sure.
how many other people are you competing with?
Yeah, millions.
And,
So it's tough too, because nowadays in the music industry, it's not just the music. There's so much that goes into it. There's social media, there's marketing, having the look, and I mean you need to be on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter every day.
mm-hmm.
So it's tough. Sometimes I get frustrated because I find myself not playing as much music because I'm focused on all these other, social media things and just stuff behind the scenes.
And you're competing with an algorithm that may
Right.
show your stuff or may not show your stuff.
I haven't figured it out.
Well, and then you could take a class to say, hey, we'll teach you how to do the algorithm. And guess what? It's changed again.
I know, right?
So
Yeah.
you're always trying to navigate that stuff. I mean, anything now is like that, whether it's books, music, whatever, it's all about navigating. How do your sisters handle you being on The Voice and the girlfriend? How did everybody handle that? All your friends and everything?
At first it was funny because everyone was treating me differently. Like it was like even my sisters were like starstruck for a couple of days when I got home. But they're all cool about it now. They're very supportive, and they want nothing but the best for me. Actually, my sister Natalie, she's been helping me out with booking and kind of stuff on the management side, and allowing me to kind of focus more on the creativity as opposed to booking and just selling my music.
Well, and it's good that if you have a family member that you can trust, not like Brittany's dad.
I know that's a whole nother nightmare. Finding
Yeah.
somebody that you trust
Yeah.
to help you.
Johnny Depp's sister has done a lot of his stuff like that too, early in his career. So, when you have that support system in place, that's good, because yes, it frees you up to do the creative stuff. And the creative stuff can take a lot of your time, and it should take a lot of your time if that is your passion. The one thing, I mean, as a musician, that's your passion, is it not?
Of course, yeah.
And that feeds your soul, and it gives you life. Being on The Voice, how much did it change your life?
I drastically changed my life. It for the better, for sure. I have a whole new demographic of fans. I went from having, I think, 4,000 followers on Instagram to 50,000. And it just gave me a lot more confidence too. Because, I was confident that I was talented, but it's really nice to actually book a show and have a bunch of fans come out and support you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's changed my life a lot. And I get recognized, in airports and when I'm in Nashville. So it's a good feeling.
So it was definitely better that you went on The Voice.
Yeah, I definitely would not change that. I would definitely do that again if I had to go back.
If you could give anybody advice about going on a show like that, what would you tell them?
The best advice, I think, is to be yourself and don't let anybody kind of present you in a light that you don't want to be in. Because when the show's over, you still have to be that person that your fans that you gained expect that person. A lot of people change for the show and for the producers. I don't think that's a good idea. Also, another big thing is before you even go on the show, you got to have a presence on social media and music out there for people to hear when they go see you, because a lot of the shows will have you sign a contract that you can't release music for a certain period of time after this or during the show and after the show. So you still want people to hear your music. So you got to have an online presence.
That definitely is some sound advice. I want to go back to the producer aspect of changing you. Did they kind of, I mean, I know on some reality shows, some of it's scripted, and we're talking not necessarily a show like yours, but or that they've edited things certain ways to make people seem certain ways. So for you, were they kind of directing you on how to dress, how your persona should be, crafting this whole persona for you? Or did they?
You know, I've seen them do that with other people, but I think that fortunately they liked who I was genuinely, and they kind of just, talked to me about my life. And I have a lot going on, and I've had, as you know, I've had a lot of tragedy, and that was a focal point on the show about who I am. And so they didn't change me, my persona, and I'm happy with how they represented me.
I think because you are a strong person. I mean, you've gone through this, and that goes back to all this tragedy. That's another thing it's done for you. It's made you a stronger person. So by having that strong personality, they didn't have to mold you so much. You weren't necessarily going to be a yes person.
Right. Exactly. I definitely saw that happen to some artists on the show that necessarily didn't have an interesting story. You know what I mean? So they would kind of push them in a different direction. And you kind of hate to see that.
No, because eventually you have to live your truth. And right. If you go in and you are truthful about who you are, then you can continue to be yourself in all of this. Mm-hmm. So is there anything else you'd like to tell anybody before I?
Yeah, I guess just thank you for the support. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, guys, for tuning in to the Better 2 podcast. Your listenership is greatly appreciated. If you like what you hear, remember to hit subscribe. We also have our videos on YouTube. They're usually posted the same day as the podcast, and you should check it out. If you have a question or you would like to be a guest on the show, please drop me an email, and I'll be glad to talk to you about it. The email is Dauna, Dauna, at thebetter2podcast.com. Thanks again for tuning in, and catch you next time.